From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
It helps us with planning, solutions and interventions, and figuring out how to best target resources.
A major effort to learn more about Indianapolis residents experiencing homelessness will show you how a local group is gathering info and the difference it could make. A man trying to help make our community a better place was shot and killed. The lasting legacy of Mr. Johnny.
What Martin Luther King fought for and ultimately died for is still prevalent today.
On this Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we look at where we stand in making Dr. King's dream a full reality. Happy Monday and welcome into the news at 6 on WRTV. I'm Amanda Starantino. First, it's a cold evening outside with some light snow in places, but that did not stop some people from taking a walk in downtown Indianapolis. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is here. Kevin, how should we prepare for the rest of the night and into our Tuesday morning?
Amanda, there's not a lot of snow in the forecast, but there's enough for a heads up. This is the heads up. The advisory in effect from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and it's to the south. You can see Bloomington, Nashville, Columbus, Greensburg on south. An inch of snow, maybe a little more. Doesn't sound like a lot, but with temperatures in the 20s overnight and into the morning hours, we'll need to be aware for those potentially slick roads. There is the outlined area for the advisory that goes into effect at 7. Most spots probably don't start seeing any rain snow mixed to snow until 10 or so. Temperatures during the day tomorrow will be back to 34 degrees for the high temperature. Right now we've got lots of clouds in the metro area. There's the moisture that will slide our way. I'll take you through kind of hour by hour how this plays out overnight tonight and into Tuesday morning. What comes after that I think you'll find interesting as well. Amanda?
Tonight, a local group is trying to learn more about people who are experiencing homelessness in Indianapolis. CHIP, or the Coalition for Homelessness Intervention and Prevention, does a point-in-time count every year. This year's count started today. WRTV's Megan Sanctorum has more on why this information is so important and what leaders hope to learn.
The goal of this point-in-time count is to better understand the number of people in our area experiencing homelessness. This also helps ensure funding for shelters and other resources.
I didn't have nowhere to go, so I had to come down here.
Lyndon Jackman is just one of many in our area currently experiencing homelessness.
It really is scary. You know, I'm already here by myself. I don't have no relatives here, you know, so just trying to think about what I was going to do. You know, I didn't know exactly, you know, just how to go about it.
Jackman says he was staying with a friend, but when that friend moved, he didn't have anywhere else to go, and he became homeless. He says he then stayed in a tent before coming here to the Wheeler Mission. Unfortunately, his story is not unique, but that's why leaders with CHIP say this point-in-time count is so important.
The count really helps provide one kind of a year-over-year analysis of how is homelessness changing in Indianapolis and how is who's experiencing homelessness changing. We look at demographics, we look at households and families and where people are showing up.
They're getting numbers from shelters in our area tonight. And while it's too soon to know for sure, we could see an increase in homelessness this year due to the pandemic.
Our teams have definitely seen some new faces since the pandemic began. Some individuals that we weren't acquainted with, that it appears this might be their first experience with homelessness.
Marcy Luigo is with Horizon House. They provide resources for those experiencing homelessness. They also have outreach teams who will be going out and conducting a count of those who are not staying in shelters. All of that data then used to help get funding for resources and identify any barriers certain populations may be running into when it comes to finding stable housing.
You really can't feel my shoes until until you've been there. So, it's very important to me that they stay accurate on how many homeless people that there is.
Jackman says he's grateful for the organizations that have helped him. He's hoping to continue working in the HVAC industry and save enough money to eventually have a place of his own.
Work and save up, try and get me another place.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Typically, dozens of volunteers help with the point-in-time count. This year, due to the pandemic, those outreach teams will be the only ones going out and connecting with those who are not in shelters. A full report of their findings will be released in the spring.
We can recognize this brother's work at a time and a day where we're also recognizing, remembering the slaying of another king as a reminder that we have a responsibility and obligation to our community.
He was a hero in Indianapolis, changing the lives of young people through mentorship until his life was cut short by gun violence. Johnny Purchase, fondly known by many as Mr. Johnny, was killed last week. WRTV's ALYSSA Donovan shows you how community members came together to recognize who he was and the legacy he leaves behind.
This is where Mr. Johnny Purchase was shot and killed on Tuesday. Today, friends and family gathered to remember the work he did in the community. A small but meaningful memorial taking shape at the site where Johnny Purchase was gunned down last week. The shooting happened around the corner from the Edna Martin Christian Center, where Mr. Johnny worked with the youth in this community. That's where dozens of people gathered today to remember the impact he left behind.
In general, I have had anxiety about losing a loved one in our family to gun violence, primarily because it is so prevalent in our community. And I usually pray for the youth in our family because I know how hard it is for them. But never did it dawn on me to pray for Johnny's safety while he was doing his job working in this community.
Mr. Johnny would work with young people and help them seize opportunities to put them on a track to success. He preached nonviolence and provided resources for those at risk.
You know, anytime we have a murder in Indianapolis, it's bad. It doesn't matter what the person was involved in, it's a soul that's left this community. But in this case, we had a man who was trying to make things better.
Those who spoke of Mr. Johnny today vowed that his work must continue and that the loss of his life in service to the community will not be in vain. I'm ALYSSA Donovan, WRTV.
The murder of Johnny Purchase is still under investigation. He was shot and killed at the New Bridges Apartments last Tuesday. If you have any information that could help police, call Crime Stoppers at 262-TIPS. And the state is releasing updated data on how COVID-19 is impacting Hoosiers. The Indiana Department of Health reports 30 additional COVID-related deaths. 8,966 people in Indiana have now died with the coronavirus. The State Department of Health also confirms 2,548 additional cases of COVID-19. 592,709 Hoosiers have tested positive for the coronavirus since the start of the pandemic. And data from the state shows that as of yesterday, 2,386 people were in Indiana hospitals, either with COVID-19 or similar symptoms that could turn out to be the coronavirus. That's an increase of 38 people hospitalized compared to Saturday. About 30% of Indiana's ICU beds are available. March Madness in Indianapolis will last into April. The IHSAA announcing today that the boys basketball state finals will be moved back 1 week, now on Saturday, April 3rd. That will allow more flexibility for the NCAA tournament at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in that final weekend of March. It will still give 8 high school teams a chance to play on the state's big basketball stage.
In the spirit of COVID and a pandemic, we've learned that flexibility is a key. And we know that things change. And, when we work with our partner, the Pacers and the Fever and Rick Fuson, and they asked us to look at some things to provide some flexibility. We were more than willing to do that.
All 4 boys finals games were originally scheduled for March 27th. The rest of the state tourney dates will not change.
And we feel that we have to do it this way in order to bring the evil out into the open, so that this community will be forced to deal with it.
You can draw parallels between Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words here with situations we are seeing in the United States today. On this Monday, the country reflects on the dream of Dr. King and where we stand today. WRTV's Troy Washington has a look at the journey towards progress.
The Master's Touch Barbershop on the east side is a place where men can go to get a fresh cut, line up their beard, and just talk.
It's kind of kind of exciting to see some of the advances that we've made that he fought for. However, we've got to keep in our mind and hang on to our faith that things are going to get better.
As we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, right now in the barbershop, there's a lot of talk about how the legacy lives on.
So much turmoil, but the hope that I see is the wins that took place down in Georgia, the historic wins there, and to see that the pastor who is presiding over the church that he pastored was the one who won down in Georgia. I think that that is so encouraging, and he would be so refreshed if he were here. And so I believe he's smiling down from heaven to see that the work is continuing.
But then there's the other side of things. In light of the Capitol protests that took place in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, that won't be soon forgotten.
We still got work to do, there's no doubt about that. Prejudice is still there.
What Martin Luther King fought for and ultimately died for is still prevalent today. You know, it definitely was a double standard.
As many reflect this year, it's just hard to ignore the current climate. But yet and still, the quest for the realization of the dream continues. Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day is typically a national day of service, and the Kennedy King Memorial Initiative here in Indianapolis is working to collect money and supplies for back to in-person school preparedness kits. Those kits will include masks, hand sanitizer, water bottles, and other supplies. They will be given to students in IPS and Indianapolis charter schools. IU Health, the Indianapolis Colts, and IUPUI are also part of this campaign. You can make a donation online between now and this Wednesday. Just go to our website just go to their website on your screen at kennedykingindy.org. A historic Indianapolis park now has some major upgrades. Today, Citizens Energy Group unveiled the renovation of the pool house at Frederick Douglass Park on the near north side. This is all part of Citizens Energy Group sharing the dream project. Improvements to the pool house include a new security system, new LED lighting, fresh paint, custom design murals, a new water heater, an upgraded concession area, new outdoor storage, a new fence, new furniture, and landscape improvements. This was a $100,000 renovation, and more is on the way for Frederick Douglass Park.
We'll soon be getting started on a design and putting together construction costs for a new family center at Frederick Douglass Park. After reviewing the design options with community input, we'll be better equipped to secure funding to build a family center in the future and offer a much needed renovated space for families and our staff.
Frederick Douglass Park will celebrate its 100th anniversary later this year. It was the first park in Indy to allow African Americans to use its facilities. Kevin.
When and where snow arrives tonight, and then we'll also find sunshine in the 7-day forecast.
A couple of big wins and a couple big losses, but the Pacers' trip out west turned out to be just as much about the team's future. Coming up, Brad Brown has a look ahead.
Call Ken. From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
Welcome back. We are just 2 days away from the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. And after the riots earlier this month at the United States Capitol building, law enforcement officials are implementing strict security measures. 25,000 National Guard troops will be stationed across Washington, D.C. for Inauguration Day, including some from Indiana. There are fears of a potential inside attack, so the Army has been performing background checks on National Guard members involved in securing the Capitol. In addition to National Guard members, there are security checkpoints and fencing with razor wire already up.
We're outnumbered. There's a million of us out there, and we are listening to Trump. You're the boss.
Meanwhile, ABC reports that the FBI has now arrested dozens of Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol, including several with ties to law enforcement, the military, and extremist groups. But investigators are still looking for 22-year-old Riley June Williams from Pennsylvania. She's accused of stealing a computer from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office, allegedly with intentions to sell it to a Russian spy agency. Much more on Inauguration Day preparations coming up on World News Tonight with David Muir at 6:30. And tomorrow, Governor Eric Holcomb will outline his vision for Indiana in 2021 in his annual State of the State address. One thing the governor will likely talk about is the way he expects the state to approach the pandemic this year, especially as more people are able to get vaccinated. may also speak about the plan for Indiana to rebound from the job losses of 2020. Governor Holcomb's State of the State address starts at 7 tomorrow night. You can watch it live right here on WRTV, the WRTV app, and our Facebook page. And right now, you can help save the lives of Hoosiers and honor the lives of police officers killed in the line of duty by simply donating blood. The Officer David Moore Blood Drive, sponsored by the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, is underway. The annual event began in 2011 after IMPD Officer David Moore was shot. Now the drive also honors the memories of fallen IMPD officers Rod Bradway, Perry Wren, Southport Police Lieutenant Aaron Allen, and IMPD Officer Brianne Leith. The blood drive is happening now through January 24th at all Versity Indiana Blood Center locations. To donate, you need to make an appointment online and enter the code David Moore in the notes section of your appointment. Kevin.
Amanda, fourth day in a row we've seen either flurries and snow showers in central Indiana, and we have some more tonight, especially to the south. It's 33 in Indy, Lafayette at 34 degrees right now, Bloomington 35. The fact that temperatures are above freezing everywhere helps the onset of some rain, snow to the south. Don't overreact to this picture. Sometimes you need milk and bread independent of any forecast, and that was just the case this weekend. So I delivered to my dad some milk and bread and everything's fine. 7 o'clock to 7 a.m., 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. That weather advisory south, I'll show you what south is in a second, but basically Bloomington to Greensburg south. An inch of snow, maybe a little more in isolated spots. With the temperatures dropping into the 20s, we do anticipate some slick conditions. From St. Louis east to Effingham, that's kind of the northern edge of this, and you see as that moves east, it comes in between Vincennes and Terre Haute and continues its march through the southern portion of the state. Temperature by 11 o'clock tonight down to 28 with mostly cloudy skies central and north and the snow developing to the south. We'll pick up the timeline just to show you 7 to 9 and 11. Well, that's where we begin to see most of the moisture south of Terre Haute, Bloomington, and Seymour. That pink and blue represents a rain-snow mix. That mixing cuts down on any snowfall potential, but you see by 1 a.m. switching over to predominantly snow, and I do think we see light accumulations with the impact on I-65 once you get into Bartholomew County, then down towards Seymour and the Ohio River. Along Interstate 74 southeast of Indianapolis, we'll watch it between Greensburg and Cincinnati. That pulls away early in the day tomorrow. Temperatures that start in the lower 20s will make a recovery with a mixture of clouds and sunshine by afternoon to 33 or 34. It will be a cold west wind, though, that you need to dress for. Temperatures will feel more like the 20s. And as we go tomorrow night into the early overnight, some snow showers once again sweep through, but they'll be hit and miss and not expecting too much of an impact there. We've kind of gotten used to that. As you look at the 7-day forecast, temperatures spike Thursday at 42. Friday through Saturday were dry. Chance for a rain-snow mix on Sunday, and it's more likely that we'll see that next Monday with 42 degrees. Amanda.
The past week for the Pacers will show them coming home with a 2-2 record from their road trip, but there's so much more to it for the team over the past 8 days away. Brad Brown has a look in our Monday Sports Extra Spotlight.
The biggest news to come out of the Pacers' week-long trip out west actually came on an off day. The trade that sent Victor Oladipo out after 3+ years with the team and brought guard Karis LeVert to Indiana. Oladipo with a long thank you to fans on social media saying, "I'll always be a Hoosier." Meanwhile, the physical exam that goes with a deal like this may have been a career-turning spot for LeVert.
Hat tip to our medical staff. We were able to find something that could help this kid and give him a better and clean prognosis for the rest of his life. So we're, in a way, it's an incredible story.
Doctors found a mass on one of LeVert's kidneys, something that likely would have gone unnoticed without the exam required for the trade. Nonetheless, the Pacers are standing by for someone they think could be a key piece of their lineup upon his return.
Everybody I know will want a timeline. I don't want to do that. People will heal in all different fashions, but we expect him out on the court, and we're going to be really a good basketball team.
The Western swing had a little bit of everything. Started and ended with defensive disasters. 127 and 129 points given up to the Kings and the Clippers.
we left guys too open. You know, we were throwing out a lot of different defenses, and I feel like they caught on to some of the box and two, some of the triangle and two, in the box and one, and then it was harder for us to catch up.
In between those, solid wins over Golden State and Portland. Add in a COVID postponed game against the Suns, and the whole trip feels a bit like a break-even week.
And this is a steady team. This is a mature, becoming a veteran group that's been together for a while. So, you know, we lost a very good player, but you know, this team is going to continue to play good ball.
You got to be flexible. There's going to be changes. There's going to be postponements. You know, we got guys on this team that can really play. You know, and they're going to be able to step up at different times. You know, so it wasn't. It's you know, I'm looking forward to the next game.
The Pacers now get another 4 straight home games. That starts Wednesday against Dallas. Toronto will be here for a doubleheader of sorts next Sunday, Monday. The NBA doing a lot of those on the schedule this season to cut down on travel. Pacers will do a double at Charlotte at the end of next week. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
.com.
There's the shaded area for the advisory tonight into tomorrow morning. Sullivan to Columbus and Greensburg south. An inch of snow or less in most spots. Could be an isolated higher amount. We're back to some sunshine in the afternoon Tuesday. Wednesday at 34, mixture of clouds and sunshine. And that Thursday, 42 is the highlight of the 7-day forecast. That's the warm spot. Amanda?
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. We'll see you at 7.